I've been thinking about attraction a lot lately, especially the question why we attract who we attract. My hope is to answer that question via astrology in this video, a little bit of mental health too, but mostly astrology, where I'm going to touch on the placements and such that I think that take a lot, how do I say this? that contribute to why we're attracted to who we're attracted to, right? So to dive right in, have you ever noticed how certain people walk into your life and something inside you just knows? It's not logical, it's not even explainable, it's electric and maybe even energetic. Like your body remembered them before your mind could catch up. Attraction isn't random, it's not an accident. You are attracted to whom you're attracted to for a reason. It's cosmic choreography. So it's your soul's way of pulling you toward both what you find familiar, what you're used to, and also the unknown, the mystery of it all. I definitely feel like that's the difference between like someone who's a platonic friend and someone who's a potential lover. Usually when someone ends up being in the quote unquote friend zone, astrology speaking, that means that maybe there wasn't enough friction, enough room for growth. Possibly that person is like almost too compatible to even cause that friction, because that friction leads to things that, leads to like sexual energy and all that other stuff. Too much friction, that's when someone becomes an enemy. That's why you'll see a lot of the time in like movies and shows why people who seem to have hated each other at first, once time kind of passes, there's some kind of understanding, or they start to kind of understand, or they see themselves in that person. Once they see themselves in that person, then it's like, then there's a perfect, like not perfect, but there's a more of a balance between the cohesiveness of their energy, but then also the friction. You need both to kind of keep a relationship alive. The friction gives you the excitement, the energy, the sexual tension. That's what the friction does. That's why you need, like, people always make it seem like couples who never argue that's always a good thing, and that's not the case. Like, you could argue every day. It's how you end that argument and how you are able to end that argument. I feel like that's like the similarities. That's the cohesiveness. That's the smooth part of the relationship that kind of allows everything to kind of come back together once the friction kind of ruffled everything's up. You want your feathers ruffled in a relationship, but then you also want them to settle with the person you're with. When they're ruffled too much, that's what we call toxic, crazy relationships. That's what I feel like that's what we call relationships, where your feathers are always ruffled. But then when your feathers are always just laid down perfectly, that's when you get that boring, monotonous type of situation. And I think attraction is like a good in between of the two. It's a play of both energies. So kind of to dive more further, just to kind of talk about attraction a little bit more. Attraction is a mirror reflecting the good, bad, and the ugly. More importantly, it reflects the hidden parts of yourself, and it's a map guiding you toward your growth. So attraction is almost like I mentioned just now, is a mirror, but it's also a map, because the mirror lets you kind of reflect as to like who you've been and who you are now. And the map kind of gives you a destination as to what you are. And I'll kind of talk about how your north and south node play an effect, your moon, your Mars, your ascendant, your descendant, all these things have a play with your attraction. And it's just so crazy how all these things kind of come into play. But then when you're right in front of someone, it takes milliseconds for you to know if you're attracted to them or not. So that's why I think that, just like attraction is very interesting. So first things first is the moon, emotional magnetism. Our moon sign is the first doorway of attraction. The moon pulls us into what feels safe, what feels like home. But home can be comforting or chaotic depending on our story. So this is where I nerd out about just not astrology, but mental health too, because I always talk about how um, if you look at my podcast, I talk about the attachment styles: secure, disorganized, we have anxious, and avoidant. So I would say you can go online, take a quiz, find out what your attachment style is, because the fourth house rules Cancer, which represents motherly, nurturing, and sacred feminine energy. When you're emotionally prepared, I would say to kind of reflect on your childhood, take those quizzes to find out what your attachment style is and kind of what feelings come up for you. Because the way you felt like a child, if someone makes you feel the way that you were as a child, that is a very homey feeling, regardless, like I said before, whether your home life as a child was comforting, chaotic, whatever descriptive word best suits and describes your childhood. That's how sometimes those who you're attracted to, when it comes to more the emotional side of things, that's what they remind you of. So we're magnetized to people who stroke those hidden chords in us. So, for example, if like your moon is in Taurus, you might be attracted to people who are very stable, maybe stubborn with how they do things. You know, if it's not broke, why fix it? Type of thing. They might be very secure financially. There's something about them. Maybe something about the home life is just very like it's very tried and true. The way that they might feel, the way that they might operate. You know that they're gonna eat the same lunch. They're gonna have the same dinner, you know, every day. Like there's something very predictable and but it's comforting to you. If that's usually your moon, if you have a moon in Taurus, that's comforting to you. So you might be attracted to people who represent your moon sign for some one way or another. The moon is memory. It attracts the people who remind us of where we've been, and sometimes the ones who push us into feeling what we've avoided too. That's that mirror part. A lot of the time, I feel like when someone walks up to you and they say, "Hey, I don't like you," and they barely know you, because this has happened to me, and I talk about this also too, like, because I feel like the strongest rising sign that deals with this is Scorpio rising, Scorpio ascendant. Like, quick tangent. I used to not understand Scorpio energy because I was looking at Scorpio energy as a mirror. And I didn't want to, I pushed away and avoided and stuffed and suppressed any traits of my own that were like scorpionic. So when I would look at Scorpios, I'd be like, what is up with Scorpios? I would vent about Scorpios, how much I couldn't stand them, didn't like them. And then I realized once I kind of like accepted my own scorpionic traits, then I was able to kind of be like, yeah, I think I was the one tripping because I had something that I had to work through for myself. And now I see like the beauty with Scorpios and everything like that. So, and it all kind of stems back to us. There's no way that someone could just kind of walk up to you. It's very rare when I feel like most people really can't pick up on energy as clearly as they think that they do, myself included. So I just kind of feel like if someone walks up to you and they don't know you at all, right? They've never met you, they don't know you, they barely know your name, and they've already decided that they don't like you, that is because you are a mirror and you're reflecting something about themselves that they don't like, but that's something that you represent. You represent something that they don't like about themselves, and they have unprocessed emotions, trauma, whatever it might be, and they're reflecting it. It's reflecting it back off you, but they're mad at the mirror instead of actually trying to be productive and conscious of why they're acting the way that they're acting towards that person. Especially if you dislike someone who's never done anything wrong to you. Yeah, that's a mirror reflection situation, right? So that's moon. Now, Venus, the aura of desire. Venus is the soft glow of attraction. It's what we find beautiful, intoxicating, unforgettable. Venus is the love language of magnetism. So, if your Venus is in Capricorn, you may find yourself captivated by strength, stability, or someone who feels like they could build an empire with you. Say if you have your Venus in Sagittarius, you're going to love people who embody freedom, independence, the willingness to travel, to kind of explore different cultures, to really kind of make themselves amongst the people. That's like Venus in Sagittarius, right? So Venus isn't just about what we love and qualities we admire, it's about what we ache for. So, for instance, if your Venus is in Aries, for instance, then you are going to attract people who might have, like, you might be very attracted to people with Aries risings, people who look athletic, people who look like they will take charge, people who very much go for it, right? You might be attracted to that. Or you might be attracted to people, if your Venus is in Aries, they might just have like an Aries stellium, or they might just have strong Aries placements. And that's something that you love and you see that in others. And then, of course, you're going to be attracted to that, right? The next you have is Mars, the spark of chemistry. Now, go ahead and check out my Mars in the Signs series. That's pretty good to like look at. I would definitely take a look at that because I kind of go into each sign. Those are my most popular videos. But Mars is raw attraction, the kind you feel in your body before you can even name it. It's the chase, the hunger, the thrill of pursuit. So if your Mars is in Scorpio, desire becomes intoxicating, even obsessive, the kind of chemistry that transforms you. I have a Mars in Scorpio video if you want to check that out as well. But pretty much like Mars is heat, it's restless, it doesn't ask permission, it awakens you. So this is like, Mars is also your sexual drive as well. What you go for and how you go for it too. How do you approach the things that you want? Your Mars placements will let you know. Your Mars placements will let you know who you're attracted to as well. So the next is the Sun, ego recognition. So attraction isn't only chemistry, it's also recognition. The Sun represents where we want to shine, and we are magnetized to people who see the light in us. So if you are trying to think of a different sign too, if you're a Libra Sun, if someone comes up to you and they completely validate all your Libra qualities, you dress so well. Every time I see you, you look so nice. You just know how to accessorize. And I don't know, you just always are making sure that everyone is comfortable. Like, you always make sure that you try to say the thing that someone needs to hear in the way that they could, that's the most palpable for them. I don't know if I said that word right, but you get what I'm saying. Like, these are compliments that, you know, you could simply say to someone who's a Libra Sun. You're validating all those qualities that, because I know that, like they say in Vedic astrology, your sun sign is what you're trying to emulate in this lifetime. Like, the moon is like energy that you have explored in past lives, but then the sun is what you're trying to emulate, or what you're trying to learn to be in this lifetime. So definitely, if you give someone that type of like validation, or you see those qualities that they're embodying in this lifetime, it's like, okay, it almost feels like a karmic compliment. Like, oh my God, they see the work I'm doing in this lifetime to embody my ego, you know? Because the ego is not always a bad thing as everyone acts like it is, you know? Like, your ego is what tells you, like, I'm important enough that if a lion is chasing me, I want to run and try to save my life because I'm important, you know? Like, that's ego coming into play, right? So when someone validates your sun sign, it feels like basking in warmth. They make you feel bigger, brighter, more alive. Attraction to the sun feels like being given permission to be. So I'll even use this example of myself. I'm an Aquarius sun, right? So I feel like the best compliment that I've ever gotten, or at least that I remember, because I, like, you know, as a person, you know, compliments, I digress. That compliments can come in many forms, shapes, and sizes, right? But for me personally, me being an Aquarius sun, the best compliment I've ever gotten was someone told me, like, I've never met someone like you. And that just made me feel, that just lit me up, because I'm an Aquarius. We like to be like the other, kind of alien like, you know, different. And if you tell an Aquarius that truly they are like, they're so unique that you've never met someone like them, that made my day more than anything else, right? So definitely, if someone sees your sun sign and is able to see those qualities within you that you're trying to embody in this lifetime, it's just gonna make you feel that much better. Your sun sign is gonna do what it does, and it's gonna shine. Pretty much, right? Then you have the ascendant and the descendant. Now, I feel like this is very important, because I've noticed, even with my own charts and stuff like that, and with other people, usually your ascendant sign, you're going to attract your opposite sign. So say if you are a Let me think of a sign. If you're a Pisces rising, then that means your descendant is Virgo. So actually, in the seventh house, when you think about it, that's marriage, that's partnership, that's commitment, that's like relationships that have like a form of commitment, someone that you kind of have decided to partner with for years, whether it's business, platonic, or if it's romantic in some type of way or fashion. So when you think about it, it's almost like you can kind of say in this lifetime, depending on your rising sign, you have committed to the opposite sign, to be committed for years to the opposite sign that you are. So you could, that's why that whole opposites attract thing, because your rising sign, you possibly could attract someone who's literally the opposite energy to you, because we're all trying to be at equilibrium, right? So the ascendant or rising sign is the aura we project without even trying. It's the energy that whispers before we speak, the first impression that precedes us. So the ascendant sign, I know for sure, has a lot of influence on immediate attraction. Because Mars is your physical energy. Venus is what you attract. Your moon is what you're used to, your familiarity, your childhood, right? But then on top of that, you have your ascendant sign, which emits this energy, and it's the way you kind of move about the world. It's your representative, if you will. So, but across from it is the descendant, as I was speaking before, the seventh house, the qualities we are wired to seek in others. Together they form an axis of attraction. So for instance, if you're a Leo rising and you glow with charisma and warmth, but you're magnetized by Aquarius partners who are cool and electric, always surprising, always awakening new vision, right? So the rising is the stage, the descendant is the lover who steps onto it. I think that's a good way of putting that. Another thing I want to touch on is the karmic and destiny points. So attraction is also karmic, if you study astrology, like astrology and having multiple lifetimes, it kind of coincides, especially if you're talking about Vedic astrology, which is based in the culture of India, right? So the seventh house shows us the qualities we crave, the ones we struggle to claim within ourselves. So, for instance, if you're a Libra rising, many times I've seen, if you have a lot of Libra energy, or if you're a Libra rising, you will attract Aries partners, because like I said, they kind of live on the opposite ends of the extreme of how do I say this? Aries is very direct and forward. Aries, they call it the baby of the zodiac, because Aries feels their desires and goes for it. There's no filter. There's no thought of anyone else. There's a beauty and a curse with operating in that energy 100% of the time, right? At the same time, Libra thinks of others. Libra is ruled by Venus, which is very much about beauty and equilibrium and equity and equality and all those like type of words, And so if you are someone who's trying to be at equilibrium, you're trying to understand, like, how do I be true to myself? But also, how do I still remain like a good neighbor to others, a good Samaritan to others? Because literally Libra is a good Samaritan, and almost at a detriment to themselves if they're too much deep into that energy. That's why they have to look to their opposite Aries and learn from Aries how to make that, how to make those two energies coincide to balance the two. So Saturn shows us bonds that feel heavy, undeniable, and binding, as if we've carried them across lifetimes. And then there are the nodes of the moon. The south node draws us towards people who feel like deja vu. Like, do I know you from another life? Do I know you from somewhere else? That whole feeling is definitely like a south node karmic thing. You might, if they feel like that you know them from somewhere else, you probably do, but it's not from somewhere else, it's from someone else, if that makes sense. So yeah, like they feel like deja vu, like we've known them forever, comforting, but often a cycle we need to release. The north node pulls us toward Partners who feel fated, soul stretching, even unsettling. They don't just attract us, they transform us. So I'll kind of go into more of it. How do I say this? The dance of two souls, synastry. That's where we're going to go to next, because your synastry will kind of show you what karmic fated things are going to like happen with relationships. You kind of have to look at the older planets. You have to look at Saturn and Neptune and all those other things, because that will kind of speak more to the lessons you need to learn in this lifetime. Many times I think people, they get excited about astrology and like, oh my god, is this person and me and them compatible and all this other stuff. And it's like, in the same way, like a lot of like your astrology chart is a guide, but it's not gonna like really tell you day by day every minute detail of how things are gonna work out, how relationships are gonna go. Most of the time I feel like, when relationships end and stuff, I feel like that's when you probably should look at your astrology chart between you and that person, more so than the beginning of it, because you want to understand the lessons you needed to learn from that past relationship, right? So that's when I go into the synastry, the dance of two souls. So when two charts meet, a new language of attraction begins. Moon to moon connections create instant emotional familiarity. Venus Mars aspects spark undeniable chemistry. So I would definitely look at your Venus and Mars aspects, not within your own chart, but the mix between you and someone else. And then Saturn brings glue, responsibility, or karmic lessons. Like I know sometimes, depending on the person and what they have Saturn, sometimes that's why people are attracted to partners that are much older than them. Because they're like, because there's something in their like chart that like makes them attracted to that Saturn energy. Saturn, you could say, is very father of time, a father sky type of energy. It's very paternal. So yeah, you could look into your Saturn. And then Pluto. Pluto is the magnetic pull we can't escape, the one that strips us bare, the one that demands surrender. So for sure, you are learning like karmic lessons with someone, especially if y'all have um connections in your chart that lead to someone, either your or their Pluto. For sure, it's going to be a very transformative relationship. Those relationships that have Pluto involved are very much like, you will remember that person for the rest of your life, and they taught you something that you will carry with you forever, type of energy, right? So why we keep meeting the same types? Have you noticed how the same patterns repeat? We attract the same types, the same lessons again and again. That's not punishment, it's repetition until revelation. So that's the thing I've noticed too, is just even with me just personally, like it's almost like the universe will keep pushing the same archetype to you over and over and over again, right? So for instance, I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of a good example right now, but yeah, it's just like sometimes it almost feels like a sick joke, but it's not. It's like you're going to just keep encountering the same energy until you learn what you're supposed to learn from it. You're just going to keep on experiencing that over and over and over until you get it. So I would say don't beat yourself up. If you feel like you're still attracting the same type of people over and over again, like say if you're that type of person who keeps on attracting the bad boy, or you keep attracting the bad girl, there's something that you need to learn from that. Perhaps you need to kind of like learn why you need to be around someone who just represents rebellion so hard. Why do you feel like you need to rebel? And kind of like think about that. And then when you like, we're all mirrors of each other. So sometimes when you're super attracted to someone, it's because they're emulating a trait that you haven't been able to tap into within yourself. Once you tap that within yourself, then it's much easier to kind of move on from that energy and then enter into like attracting a different kind of person who's attracting a different trait that you want to adapt to, right? So it's just going to keep going on and on and on and on and on. This is just human. This is just life. This is just something that everybody goes through, you know? Attraction is never just about the other person. It's about the dance between who we are, who we've been, and who we are becoming. So I close with this. Attraction is not coincidence. It's the secret language of the soul. Every person you feel magnetized by is both a mirror of who you are and a map of who you're meant to be. So ask yourself, what qualities keep appearing in the people I'm drawn to? And are those qualities asking to be awakened inside of me? So with that, I leave you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.